So welcome to the session, and let us look at empathy as the core foundation for designing solutions and workplace effectiveness. Many a times people look at empathy just like a normal business word, but I want to tell you that one of the most powerful words in business in the corporate setting is empathy. And of course, Brian Tracy in his book, The 100 Laws of Business Success, clearly talks about um, empathy. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs, you're business leaders, you desire to grow into leadership position in the corporate world, especially, please, I need you to understand the way I am going to analyze empathy and how you can use it to design solutions and, of course, have a better workplace. Leaders, corporate leaders, career professionals, supervisors, directors, CEOs are sensitive to and aware of the needs, feelings, and motivations of their people. That is empathy. If I say that you are a leader full of empathy, if I say that you are an executive who is full of empathy or you practice empathy, what I am saying is you are very sensitive and you are very aware of the needs, feelings, and motivations of the people you are leading or your customers or your colleagues or whoever directly or is indirectly related to you as far as you are a leader or an entrepreneur. There is no way you can separate a successful corporate executive or an entrepreneur from empathy, because you are always dealing with people, either as employees, either as your colleagues, either as your team members, either as customers, either as stakeholders. You are always working and dealing with people. So there is no way you can claim to design effective products and services or solutions for a target market when you don't understand their needs, their feelings, and their motivations. There is no way as a company leader, as an entrepreneur, there is no way you can lead your team when you don't understand their needs, their feelings, and motivations. That is why this is the foundation for solution design and workplace effectiveness. For those who have studied product design, or those who have heard of the concept of design thinking is a very important concept in business. And great companies from Facebook to IBM to Microsoft today practice design thinking before they launch a product. And there are a couple of elements that make up design thinking. And one of the elements is empathy. Without empathy, design thinking will not be effective. Without empathy, the effective solution design for a particular market will not be effective and significant. So it is critical for you to rise and build a thriving institution with excellent employees. Empathy must be part and parcel of your leadership. For you to be a very good entrepreneur who designs products and services that people will desire, products and services full of understandability, products and services full of market desirability, you need to understand the significant role of empathy in your design process. So empathy is beyond just the normal English word. It is a core element for you as leaders, as corporate executives, as rising professionals, to understand and use it to your advantage. Leaders, career leaders and entrepreneurs who succeed have a high levels of interpersonal intelligence. They are constantly aware of their own thoughts, feelings, and possible reactions of others to the things they do and say. This is very important. If you are an entrepreneur and you don't have this interpersonal intelligence to be aware of how your thoughts, feelings, and reactions to others affect them, something is wrong. If you are not aware of how the things you do and say affect the people that work with you in terms of their thought, feelings, and reactions, you will have a challenge leading effectively, and of course, having an effective workplace environment or designing solutions that matter for the target market. That is why interpersonal intelligence is critical. So it is your responsibility to take time to think about the effects of your decisions on the people before you make the decisions. For example, before you make the decision of increasing prices for your products as an entrepreneur, you need to think about the impact or the effect of this decision on your target market. Will their income level be able to accommodate the price increase? That is empathy. Before you make a decision regarding your team members, you need to ask yourself a very important question. How will this decision affect the team members? So when you do this as a leader, you recognize how people feel. And you are very conscious that how people feel will largely depend or determine how well they will perform. How your employees feel, how your team members feel will determine how well they will perform. How your customers feel about the kind of buying experience you give them when they come to buy from you will determine how well they will perform in future in buying from you. So you need to be conscious. You need to recognize that how well people feel will largely determine how well they perform. So you need to always bring empathy in play for you to become a better entrepreneur, for you to become a better leader in the workplace. And you cannot separate empathy from listening skills. Any leader, any entrepreneur, any corporate professional, if you claim right now, you're listening to me right now, if you claim that you practice empathy as an entrepreneur when it comes to solution designing, or as a corporate leader when it comes to your workplace, if you claim that you practice empathy, you're also telling me that you have very good listening skills. For you to empathize and produce better products for customers tomorrow, you need to learn how to listen to their feedback and their complaints today. For you to lead your team members and be a good leader to them, you need to ascertain that you are a good listener when it comes to working with your team members. Entrepreneurs and leaders who practice empathy listen carefully to what others say, and they seek to understand what is being said between the lines. They listen carefully to what others say, and they seek to understand what is being said between the lines. You don't listen to judge. You don't listen to respond. You don't listen to just react. No, you listen and you seek to understand what is being said. And then you process before you get to take action. So it's critical for us to understand this. When you study some of the world's global CEOs and top performing leaders, empathy is very critical. They empathize with their team members and they empathize with their customers. If you understand and practice empathy in these two fronts, there you will go places, especially for people who are building businesses that have a future. Another important element when it comes to empathy and leadership is that leaders in the corporate world and entrepreneurial leaders who practice empathy, they are open to feedback from their people. They are open to feedback from their customers. And most importantly, they are willing to change their decisions based on new information. Leaders who practice empathy are flexible and not rigid. You receive feedback from your team members. You receive feedback from your customers. You receive feedback from whoever is an important stakeholder in your value chain. And you don't only receive feedback, you are willing to change your decisions based on the new information. You are willing to be flexible and to bring in improvement and development based on the feedback, because feedback will bring new information. It could be positive or it could be negative. But one important thing is, do you or are you open to feedback? Do you listen to feedback? And after listening, do you take action? Are you willing to change when feedback happens? Feedback without change, feedback without improvement, feedback without a firm decision making, feedback without any action is not feedback. You receive the new information from feedback so that you can take action. Therefore, as a business leader, as a corporate leader, you need to realize that different people require different things from you. As an entrepreneur, if you have a product or you have more than one product, for example, different people who buy that product require different things from you. Or if you run a business right now and you serve two different market segments, let us say that you serve students and you serve housewives. Those are two market segments. When you are an entrepreneur who practices empathy in the way you run your business, you need to understand that if you have two market segments, these two market segments require different things from your leadership. It is the same like a corporate leader, or you have employees or team members who work with you. All these people require different things from you as a leader. The way you treat A is not the same way you treat B. You need to be dynamic. You need to be flexible. But I am not talking about favoritism. No, I am talking about fairness. I'm talking about treating people with respect, following boundaries and policies. But there is a way that you talk to different people based on their personality, based on their background, based on their cultural beliefs, and all of that. Like, for example, in my business right now, if I have a Muslim employee right now, of course, I should be able to develop empathy and understand that they are in their fasting season. I should develop empathy to understand that as a Muslim, according to their religious beliefs, they should pray 5 times a day, and I should give room for that. That is why when you go to some big companies, they have a prayer room for Muslims and for Christians. That's a decision from the place of empathy. So because I am a Christian and I should not be able to accommodate Muslims, no, there should be room for religious tolerance, except there is an original policy in play which states that you don't employ Muslims, which is, of course, that is barbaric, I can say. Because if you're a sincere Christian, Christ teaches you to love. And if there's a Muslim, if you go to the most typical Muslim countries right now, there are Christians that work there, and these Muslims empathize and respect them in the best way that they can. So empathy is critical. So you need to understand that as a business leader, as a corporate leader, as a rising professional, the way that you treat people will definitely be different. But while you do this, respect boundaries, policies, and the standards in place. And one thing about empathy is you need to be very clear and direct as a leader. You need to be very clear and direct as a leader. And you need to understand that for empathy to succeed where you work or where you lead, you need to be dynamic, relaxed, and promote participatory actions. And that is why leadership behavior varies from one person to another and from one situation to another. The kind of leadership behavior that maybe you needed to exhibit yesterday may not be the same that you have to exhibit today. Today is a new day, new challenges, new situations, and you're probably going to meet new people. So you need to learn that as a leader who practices empathy, you need to practice leadership behaviors in different settings to different people and different situations. When you practice empathy as a leader, whether as an entrepreneur or as a corporate professional, you recognize that your personal behavior of consideration, courtesy, caring, kindness towards your people, which could be customers or employees, are critical determinants of individual performance. What does that mean? Let's go to employees especially, or to your team members, or to your colleagues. How you behave with your colleagues, the kind of courtesy that you give your colleagues, how much you care for your colleagues and team members, the kind of kindness that you demonstrate towards your team members. These things are very critical determinants when it comes to the individual performance of each team member. So the kind of care and kindness that you give in your workplace will determine the behavior or the performance of individual team members. And research says that team members get to practice a lot of commitment when they receive the right respect, the right care, the right kindness, and of course, the right leadership behavior. So for people to perform at their best, they need to know exactly what is expected of them. You cannot be an excellent leader who practices empathy if you are not very good at communicating expectations. If you have a team of people that work with you, learn to communicate expectations. Look, I am expecting you to come on time. I am expecting you to be punctual at work. I am expecting you to deliver tasks on time. I am expecting you to communicate on time. I am giving you this job description because I need you to understand what you are expected to do. That is what good leaders do. Don't keep things to yourself and expect people to understand. Number one, it's going to also affect your level of empathy towards them. So as a leader, you need to be conscious that people, your team members, perform to their best when they know exactly what is expected of them. And as a leader, you take time to make job assignments and responsibilities very clear. That is why onboarding is very important. Onboarding of new employees, where you take time and you keep teaching the employees about some core values and beliefs in the workplace and their expectations. You keep having meetings with the employees consistently and let them grow into that role that you have given them to serve. So as a leader, you make sure everyone knows exactly what they're expected to do and how important it is and when it is supposed to be completed. This is very important. If this is not done, your ability to lead will struggle. But as a leader, you make sure that everyone knows exactly what they're expected to do, number one. Number two, you explain to them how important it is. Number three, you explain to them when it is supposed to be completed. Sometimes you hear leaders complaining, oh, my staff are not productive, they don't respect me, they are not this, they are not this. Meanwhile, your staff, they are ignorant of what you expect of them. You have not sat them down to teach them, to educate them. Tell them what you expect of them. Tell them why it is important. Tell them when they are supposed to complete the task. Give them deadlines. Give them days and time to submit letters. And one thing about empathy in the workplace and in your business for you as a leader is you continually look for ways to use praise, approval, and positive reinforcement to elicit the very best of your people. Oh, yes. You cannot be a leader who practices empathy and you are not good with praise. You pray when work is well done, say well done, excellent, congratulate them. When people need approval when necessary, give them the approval, endorse them when necessary. When people need encouragement, give them that positive reinforcement. Let them know that they can do this. Give them the counsel and the moral support they need to get the job done. Hear that again. Leaders continually look for ways to use praise, to use approval, and the positive reinforcement to elicit or encourage the very best from their people. So when somebody carries out the task effectively, congratulate them, celebrate them. Oh, well done. If you can give tips for good results produced. You can give an extra bonus to the salary, okay, give it. If you can do something, do it. If you can take them out for lunch, all right, do it. If you can buy them lunch, do it. But just do an action that can prove that you are praising them and you are giving some level of positive reinforcement for the excellent work that they have done. And one thing about leaders who practice empathy is leaders who practice empathy continually create situations that empower people. Oh, yes. You need to create situations that empower people. You need to develop people yourself. When you create situations that empower people, you make people feel stronger and more confident. And show me an environment where employees feel stronger, they feel confident, they will always produce exceptional results. And leaders who practice empathy lead by encouragement. They lead by commitment rather than fear and threat. If you're a leader who threatens people, you're a leader who wants people to fear you before they get things done, you're a very bad leader. And that workplace will not be sustainable. Either people will resign always, or people will get depressed and not be productive, or they'll avoid you. They'll look for the slightest opportunity not to be at work. Many of these things will get to happen. But then, as a good corporate leader that you are, as an entrepreneur who has been in PPA for a couple of days, weeks, months, and even years, you know that you need to have the kind of leadership that creates situations that empowers people. You know that it is your responsibility to make your people feel stronger and more confident. Even your customers. One of the most important things to achieve when you are dealing with your customers is to make them feel confident that you are still the best service provider that they will ever encounter. Make them feel confident that your product is still the best product they can buy. That is your responsibility as an entrepreneur who practices empathy. And most importantly, you lead by encouragement and commitment rather than by fear and threats. This is very important. Corporate leaders and entrepreneurs who practices empathy encourage people to speak freely and openly about their real thoughts and concerns. Yes, you encourage a situation where your employees can walk to you and have a discussion about the mission, about the future of the organization, about what is happening. And you guys can team up and create the needed change that the workplace needs. As an entrepreneur and corporate leader who practices empathy, you realize that the quality of a relationship between two people can be measured by how freely each feels to speak honestly to the other and to express their true opinions. People are not afraid around you to speak. People can walk into the office. People can walk to you and have a sincere discussion and have that honest conversation about the business, about a product, about the future of the institution and how they would like to contribute and to serve. But if you run an environment full of fear and threat and tension, nobody comes to you, that you are not a leader, first of all. That is not leadership. You don't, if you're that kind of a leader who thinks that you will influence people by fear and threat, you will not be sustainable. Why? Because the day that you lose the position which gives you the authority to instill fear and threat to people, you have lost your power. Nobody will ever respect you again. They respect you because of your position. True leadership is when you give up power and you still have power. That's true leadership. For example, you are a CEO of a company or you're a director, and the day you're no longer director, you have given that position to another person, but people still respect you. You still have influence over people. That is true power. That's what it means, giving out power, but you still remain powerful. But if people are respecting you in that position because you use your position to threaten people and to instill fear, and they respect you from the place of fear and threat, you are not a leader at all. The day you lose that position, you have nothing to show for anymore. Nobody respects you. But if you genuinely lead people and encourage people through encouragement and commitment, you make people to feel stronger and confident. You develop and empower people. You enable people to speak to you honestly and freely. This honest conversation is all about value and development. I tell you, you will be an exceptional leader. If you are still following and you're picking out something on how to become a better corporate leader or entrepreneur, drop a message in the chat box. Drop something. What are you picking out so far? What is standing out for you so far? Good. All right, let's proceed. You can comment what would change after this as far as entrepreneurs, what would change in your leadership as an entrepreneur? Corporate leaders, what would change? What would change when you go back to the office today? When you meet your team members, what is going to change? All right, let's proceed. There are three key types of empathy. Three key types of empathy, which is important that entrepreneurs and corporate professionals should understand. Number one is what we call cognitive empathy. The ability to understand how somebody else thinks. Cognitive empathy. For people like us who are into consulting, cognitive empathy is very important. And coaching, you cannot succeed as a coach if you don't practice cognitive empathy, the ability to understand how somebody else thinks. Sometimes even if you are so good at cognitive empathy, you can anticipate. You can anticipate how people think, and you know what to take as far as actions is concerned. So as entrepreneurs and leaders, you need to practice cognitive empathy, especially for entrepreneurs. One of the best ways to design products that customers will desire, or products that will have high market desirability, you need to always bring cognitive empathy in play. You need to learn how to understand how customers think. Very important. So cognitive empathy means that you have the ability to understand how somebody else things. The second type of empathy is emotional empathy, the ability to understand and feel the emotions of others. Somebody tells you that they are sick, you are very good at putting yourself in their shoe to understand how they feel. Somebody's going through pain, somebody's going through challenges, somebody's emotionally unstable. You have the ability to understand and feel the emotions of that person. That is what is called emotional empathy. Then we have compassionate empathy. Compassionate empathy is like the big brother of emotional empathy. It goes a step beyond emotional empathy. That brings one to act on behalf of another person's emotions. Yes, you develop emotional empathy, but if you want to act as a result of developing that empathy, you are not practicing compassionate empathy. That's why there's a difference between compassion and pity. Somebody who pities you will just say, where Ashia is well, Ashia, and all of that, and then does nothing. But somebody who is compassionate, the person feels for you and takes steps to do something as a result of what they're going through. For example, you tell somebody, oh, you know what, you have lost money and you don't have transport to go back to the house. Pity will say, we're sorry about that, Ashia, and all of that. And then they leave you there. That's pity. They just pitied for you with no action. But compassionate empathy, oh, you've lost your transport. I don't have enough money, but look, take 1,000 francs and see what you can do. I hope it can help. Now, that is compassionate empathy. So leaders practice more. They are very good at developing emotional empathy and compassionate empathy. If you're a leader where you have only emotional empathy, that is not enough. You need to have compassionate empathy. When you try to do, you must not do all of it. You must not sort everything out if you're not able to do that. But you try to take action as a result of the emotional pain that your employee or your customer or whoever is going through around you. So from today, for you guys to continue to be exceptional entrepreneurs, and corporate leaders, be very conscious at practicing cognitive empathy. That is the ability to understand how other people think. Be very good at practicing emotional empathy, trying to understand and feel the emotions of others. And most importantly, practice compassionate empathy. Do something when somebody's going through a challenge. Go beyond emotional empathy. Act. Act for your employees. Act on behalf of that person who's going through something. Don't just pity the person when you have practiced emotional empathy. No, after emotional empathy, take some action. Bring some development and improvement in the life of that particular person. All right, now let's look at ways that you can develop empathy as an entrepreneur and a professional. How can you develop empathy? How can you become an empathetic leader? And please remember, empathy doesn't mean that you should move around and pity people. And empathy doesn't mean that you're a weak leader. You can be firm, disciplined, structured, full of standard, but at the same time, you are very, very empathetic. You practice empathy. All right, let's look at the things you should do from today to develop empathy. Number one, show genuine interest in others and their situations. You cannot claim to be a leader who practices empathy when you don't genuinely love people. That's the first condition. Genuinely love people. You cannot pretend to practice empathy. The real you will manifest very soon. The real hatred in you is going to manifest. The real anger in you is going to manifest. You have to genuinely have interest in people and situations. If you pretend to do good today, meanwhile, you know that inside of you, you're a wicked person, your real wickedness will manifest very soon. If you pretend to be humble around people, meanwhile, you know that you have anger issues, you disrespect people, in less than no time, the real you is going to manifest. So start being genuine from the inside. For you to be a good entrepreneur and corporate leader who practices empathy, which is very important when it comes to product design or solution design and workplace efficiency, you need to learn how to show genuine interest in others and their situations, genuinely love people. One thing about being a leader with empathy is that you need to understand the unique situations of each and every member of your team, and you must genuinely love them and show interest and desire to bring change if they're going through any challenge. The second way to develop empathy as an entrepreneur and leader is to learn how to connect one-on-one with people. Learn how to connect one-on-one with people. One of the easiest and most effective ways to know how your team members are feeling or to know how some customers are feeling is for you to schedule one-on-one meetings. Talk to them. Let them, remember we said that good leaders who practice empathy, there's high open communication and honest communication around them. You cannot practice one-on-one when people cannot freely talk to you because maybe they know that you're not going to do anything, you're going to shout at them and all of that without respecting them or without any kindness and care. But for one-on-one to happen, which is important when it comes to you developing empathy, you need to ensure there is open and honest communication between you and your team members or you and your customers. So the second way to develop empathy is to connect one-on-one with your team members or with whoever you want to develop empathy with. Number three, gather real-time feedback from your team by sending out happiness and engagement surveys. Yes, one of the ways that you can develop empathy around your team members or with your team members is for you to use surveys to gather feedback. You can send out feedback. The survey can be a form, or it can just be a quick WhatsApp chat informally with your staff, just to know how they feel. Just ask them some basic questions. Gather that feedback, that real-time feedback. And the feedback should rotate around happiness and engagement, to rotate around how do they enjoy being here. We can also gather feedback around your customers. Ask them questions about how do they enjoy your service? Do they like your product? Do they like how you serve them? Do they like, you ask them all these questions to understand how engaged you are with them and how happy they are with you. Because when you gather real-time feedback from your team or your customers, this will help you gain some insight into how your employees are feeling at the current moment. Number 4, the fourth way that you entrepreneurs and corporate professionals can develop empathy is for you to learn how to listen. Learn how to listen actively. Learn how to listen with attention so you can cause change. The way you're listening to me right now shows how empathetic you can be. Great leaders and corporate professionals listen and focus on the person talking. When you interrupt somebody when they're talking and trying to explain an important point, that is not being empathetic enough. You don't get to understand people when you interrupt them or when you listen to them full of distraction. You are listening to somebody and you're on your WhatsApp. You are listening to somebody and you're concentrating on television. When you listen to somebody, your body language is not portraying that you are in the moment. That is not empathy. You cannot develop empathy with poor listening skills. The fifth point is practice cognitive and emotional empathy. We spoke about that. Practice to anticipate how people think, especially customers and your team members. Practice to understand their emotions. As we said, when it comes to cognitive empathy, you proactively think about another person's mindset. You proactively anticipate how they think and how they look at things. This is very important in business, very important. If you get cognitive empathy right, you will go places in how you build your product and how you lead your team. So the fifth way that you need to develop empathy as a leader is to practice cognitive and emotional empathy. Number 6, the sixth thing that you need to do to develop empathy is open communication. Create open communication around you. If you run a business, create open communication in a way customers can quickly send in feedback. Customers should not find it difficult to send feedback to you, complaints to you, or ask questions. You quickly develop empathy when you have open communication. Build empathy in the workplace by creating open and honest communication. Have what they call an open door policy, a structured open door policy that should not be abused. A worker can respectfully walk into your office and have a discussion with you that is honest, that is open, and it is for the good of the institution. Open communication is very critical for building empathy, especially for entrepreneurs and corporate leaders. When your team freely communicate issues, success, and challenges with you, you are better placed to understand that situation and take action where necessary. So these are the 6 critical things that I charge you, the leaders and entrepreneurs, corporate professionals, to do from today to develop excellent empathy that will contribute to your solution design process and workplace effectiveness. The second charge you are part of, apart from the 6 things that will help you develop empathy, is make a list of the people who report to you and then consider the kind of direction and supervision they need from you to perform at their best. If you are a leader here, you have people that work, that report to you, people that you are responsible for. I want you to do this exercise. Make a list of the people who report to you. And then ask yourself a question. Look at that list, name after name. Ask yourself, this person like this, what kind of direction and supervision do they need from me to perform their best? You'll be shocked at the things that you write up yourself. Make a list. Look at your employees. Look at the accountant. Look at the marketing team. Look at the finance team. Look at the cleaner. Look at anybody who works with you or for you. Write their names down on the paper, on the booklet. Take name after name. And then ask yourself this question and provide written answers. Look at the employee number 1. Say, this employee, what kind of direction and supervision can I give to this employee that will prompt this employee to perform at his or her best? You do that and you write down the responses for all the employees. And then create a plan to start providing the direction and supervision they need to be successful. The second chart you need to look at is, how could you adjust your leadership style to be more effective with each of them? Many of you, your leadership style is not the best. Your leadership style is not the best. You are not proactive. You don't respect. You don't communicate with the team members with kindness. You don't care. You don't communicate well. Your team members don't know what you expect of them. You don't give them the resources they need to perform better. All of these things, if you don't have them, that is not effective leadership. Some of you, you will have to adjust your leadership in order to be more effective with each of your team members. You will have to adjust your leadership to your customers. Some of you, the way you talk, you don't talk to your customers with respect. You don't talk to your customers in a way that projects confidence and that can guarantee them to come back and buy from you and all of that. You need to adjust that leadership. You need to learn how to lead your customers in a way that projects confidence and, of course, that reassures them that this business has a future. The last charge is, ask people around you for their advice, ideas, and inputs. Encourage people to be open and direct with you. Think of how you could improve your relationships with your people by being more relaxed and receptive to the different ideas and viewpoints that they might have. Yes, this is an important charge for you. Learn how to encourage people around you to freely bring advice, ideas, and inputs to you that can contribute to your leadership. Learn to encourage your people to be open and direct with you in a respectful and kind manner. Find ways that you can improve your relationships with your colleagues, customers, and other key stakeholders by being more relaxed and, most importantly, by being receptive to the different ideas and viewpoints they might have to bring to the table. This is very important for you to actually rise to the top as far as leadership is concerned. To conclude, remember, empathy is the foundation for designing solutions and creating value that people will understand and desire to consume or to buy. And for you to succeed in the workplace, you need to intentionally invest in becoming a leader full of empathy, to have that conducive working environment where people desire to excel, to develop, and to perform at their best. That is your responsibility as an entrepreneur and as a corporate leader. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Let's take some questions and comments and round up for today's morning school.